Good morning, fellow Toastmasters, and we have a couple guests. Welcome to the meeting. And we'd like to welcome our inspirator up to the lectern. And who's our inspirator this morning?
Carol.
All right, Carol Ann is our inspirator.
Good morning. Recently, I was watching the evening news and saw some devastated families from the war zone. There was a father and two daughters. The mother and another daughter had been killed, and the one daughter luckily was able to get out to Turkey, or she would have lost her leg. And I got thinking, we're slightly concerned about a wide right and our hopes for the Super Bowl dashed. However, due to the fact of our brave men and women in uniform, who for the most part, aside from 9/11, have kept the fighting off our shores. So if, because of them and the grace of God, we are able to be concerned about maybe things that aren't really important, but we have the luxury of living in this free country. Jackie.
Thank you, Carol.
Thank you,
Well
Carol.
said.
Now we'll stand for the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag
Of the
of the
United
United States of America
and to the
and to
Republic,
the republic for which it stands,
one
one
nation,
nation,
under God,
under God, indivisible,
with
liberty and justice for all. All right, good morning, everybody. Happy Thursday. I see we have a couple of guests in the room this morning. Jackie, would you like to introduce our guests
Yes,
in the room this morning?
I would be happy to. Chuck is back for the second time. We're very happy to see him. He intends to rejoin the group. And
Oh, good.
Ovid is here in person. We've only seen her online in the past. So welcome to both of you.
All right, Jackie, the floor is yours, and we'll do announcements towards the end of the meeting. So Jackie,
All
take
right.
it away.
Thank you, Eric. I'm happy to be here talking about all my fun shirts this morning. Not all of them are mine. This one was for the official dog walker of the family, my husband, Kevin. I'm not sure he thought it was funny, but we did. All right, let's talk about some of our jobs that we have. Sylvia is our WAG master, so I'm interested to hear what the word of the day will be. Sylvia.
Morning, everyone. Well, as I was looking through different words to do with clothing, I came across one. It's a very old one. Word, raiment, R-A-I-M-E-N-T. It's for clothing, garments, dresses, material. And the first known use of this word was back in the 15th century, I'm sorry. And for example, that was given, and I'm going to use what the dictionary had because I loved it. What spirit are you that walks this castle in such strange raiment? Please use the word raiment today. No bill stuff, David. And then my other two jobs, master and I'll try to listen to the use of words that we have today in our speeches and evaluations and just general meeting. Thank you, Jackie.
Thank you very much, Sylvia. So raiment is the word of the day. Good word, a little obscure. I think that's kind of fun. All right, next shirt. Kevin and the kids started brewing beer. Actually, Kevin was the one who started brewing beer, and I don't like beer, but I understand from a few other people that it was pretty tasty. Anyway, our big dog stuck her face in anything going, including a batch of brewing beer at one time. So we have the Nosy Dog Brewery. So that was always a favorite. I see that David Licata is ready on deck to give us a jest. So David, come on up.
Just a brief aside, I was in charge of grinding the grains at Nosy Dog on a few occasions. Well, those familiar with my history here in AM Lockport Toastmaster, you know that I'm always hitting the baby boom nostalgia button. Now, I also make great hay out of the fact that television and I were born the same year, and we've been together ever since. So my favorite T-shirt I had when I was a very young child. Mother and father would even alter the dinner time so I could watch the show, which I was impressed that they would do that for me. So I'm going to share it with you now. And see, she has much more class than I do. She does it off stage. But we have to set the mood. We had enough members, we could meet in a phone booth when the club started oh so long ago. Well, that's a brief jest. Thank you very much.
Okay, you will recognize this shirt. This is my avocation representation, my retirement job that I do part-time and enjoy very much, helping people to the best of my ability at the Mental Health Association. And if anybody has a little extra time on their hands, we're always looking for mentors to get involved in the Compeer program. That entails being a friend to someone, because many times people with a mental health diagnosis are isolated for a number of reasons. Compeer matches them with someone who promises to be a friend and spend only 4 hours a month, maybe have a cup of coffee or just sit and chat. We also have planned activities that you can participate in. All right, now we need a quote to set the mood for the day. And Nancy is already on deck waiting to give us a quote of the day. Nancy Ferry, come on ahead, Nancy.
I chose a few quotes from t-shirts. Positivity can change your life. Do something today for a better future. Mistake are proof that you are trying. I think that was the first mistake, right? If I cannot do great things, I can do small things in a great way. Believe in yourself and you will be unstoppable. I love those shirts.
Thank you. Excellent, excellent points of view. Okay, Joe Budnack walked into the room just a few minutes ago, calling you out for being late. Joe, come on up and tell us about your job as quiz master today and what that is going to entail. Joe.
Today I will be listening to other people's stories and asking people questions about certain things that they are talking about and quizzing you on what people have been talking about today. So everyone listen closely, pay attention and take notes because that's what I'm going to be doing. Thank you, Madam Toastmaster.
Thank you, Joe. Our general evaluator today is Marty Johnston. I'm hoping that he's online and can tell us a little bit about what he intends to do today. Do we see Marty up there? Okay, Marty, let's hear from you.
Good morning, Madam Toastmaster, fellow Toastmasters, and most welcome guests. As general evaluator this morning, my duty is to evaluate the Toastmaster of the day and the evaluators. And I will report when called upon. And if needed, I can call for reports at the end of the meeting. Thank you. Back
Thank
to you, Toastmaster
Thank
Jack.
you, Marty. All right. Okay, I did put out a message saying if anyone had a hip pocket speech they wanted to do, they would be welcome to fill in. Since we only have 2 speakers scheduled this morning, we're going to give one of our evaluators for some reason I have Nancy Ferry down as an evaluator on this copy, and it should have been Tracy Farrell evaluating Mike Florio. And David Licata want to evaluate Phil Russell. Does that work? You're on the schedule for that job. We had no one scheduled as the alternate speaker, so we will do a few extra table topics. Les kindly agreed to be prepared for that. So I'm now going to turn things over to Les Robinson, who is our table topics master this morning. Les.
Thank you, Jackie. All right, I think I've got everybody. If I've missed anybody, let me know. But we will pick Larry to do our first table topic, and it is explain your favorite shirt. And use the word of the day, Raymond.
Thank you, Mr. Table Topics Master. Interesting how I was chosen first. I must not have been here for a while. Well, guess what? My favorite shirt I'm wearing today, one of my favorites, is the AM Lockport Toastmaster shirt. It's a shirt that has been hanging right behind me here for quite a while, and I have not worn it. Today felt like an appropriate day to wear my shirt because of the fact that I'm reattending a meeting that I have missed for quite a while. Certain things have happened over the past few years, and one of them was I happened to be intrigued by a story, and it was a story about Clint Eastwood. And Clint Eastwood had a luncheon meeting with this gentleman, and they sat down and they had a talk, and Clint was getting ready to prepare himself for another movie in his late years of life. And he was asked, how can you do this at such a mature age where you're getting so old? And he said, throughout the times we wear many different hats and many different ventures that we go on. And it doesn't matter what raiment we're wearing at the time. It just happens that when you're doing those things, I just don't let the old man in. And that struck a chord with the gentleman who was having lunch with him. That gentleman was Toby Keith. Toby Keith, on the way home, was driving in his truck, and he was struck by those words. So much to the point where he went home and he penned a song. And that song was, Don't Let the Old Man In. One of the verses in that was, how old would you be if you didn't know the day you were born? And that made me actually think about how I was living my life, because how old would I be if I didn't know the day I was born? Sometimes we feel as though we're 110 years old, and sometimes our body makes us feel the same way. But one of the most important things to remember is, such as Toby Keith, you live your life until that day when the cold winds start blowing in and you look out the window and you say, don't let the old man in. Thank you, Mr. Table Topics Master.
Thank you, Larry. My next person, I would like to pick Stephen Smith to be on the table topics. And the question will be, what will be his t-shirt that he will be wearing for the eclipse on April 8th?
Thank you, Mr. Table Topics Master, for giving me an excuse to talk about the eclipse. Well, what shirt am I going to be wearing that day? Well, that's kind of an interesting subject. Because when I started doing Star Search, I had the club, or actually I paid for it, I didn't have them. I got shirts made up that said Wilson Star Search on them. And it's a beautiful light blue. It's a pullover like this. And we had this wonderful logo that looked like a buffalo. Now, as time went on, young people got in the club and they thought the buffalo was old fashioned. We were old. We got to get rid of this. They got this nondescript buffalo skyline that is now our logo. They went as far as to tell someone that it was illegal to wear these old shirts to any of our events. I've got a 2-word answer for them that I'm not going to use here this morning. So I was seriously thinking about, because that t-shirt that I'm talking about has a beautiful buffalo logo on it. Well, Jill has also drafted a logo. Well, both of these logos have stars, like a dot to dot, making the object, the buffalo, and in her case, a ship, because that's the logo of Wilson. Either one of these particular pieces of raiment are nice, but I was thinking of wearing that old t-shirt with their old logo on it, just to say to the people who decided that we were old fashioned, because I think it's a beautiful logo and I hated to lose it, although I was very much outvoted on the board when this happened. But I'll get off the soapbox about that. Get out no matter where you go and enjoy the eclipse on October 8th, because we won't have another one here. I keep saying October. I've done that I don't know how many times. I keep saying October. If you're out there in October, you'll be by yourself. No, it is April 8th, because we won't have another one for 120 years. That's October 26th of that year, if you want to write it down. Mr. Table Topics Master.
Thank you, Steve. Next person I'd like to pick is Margot, and I'd like to have Margot talk about her favorite shirts when she cruises.
Somebody's been stalking me on Facebook and knows what raiment I like to wear on Facebook. So you have to understand, when we cruise, it is the only 2 weeks out of the year where I am more important than the farm bureau, Lions, our sons, my mother-in-law, and everybody else. And so we discovered on our first cruise that when we wore matching clothes, people started to talk to us. We met people. You see, the first time we cruised, my husband brought long sleeve shirts for the Caribbean. It didn't work. So he bought a shirt, and at the next stop, I found a matching dress, and a tradition was born. So for those who don't know, every year I get my husband off the farm and I let Mike Licata live in my winery and run it for me. And I always tell him, if somebody walks in and offers you $1 million, say yes. And so we wear matching clothes every day. So pretty soon the word spreads throughout the cruise that the matchy-matchy couple is here. The photographers seek us out, And what I've noticed the last couple years is as we do that each day, more and more couples go off ship, buy matching clothes. So we're all matching. This cruise, there are probably about a dozen and a half couples all wearing matchy by the end of the cruise. Now you might wonder where I get these wonderful raiments. They actually are online in a company called Rima Beach World. And so what I do every year is I send pictures to them and they send me the newest edition. And so I now have 18 of these matching outfits. And in case you're wondering why we wear them, it's because so when I drink too much, I know who I'm supposed to go home with at the end of the day. Mr. Table Topics Master.
Margot, thank you. Next one, I'd like to pick Mark. And what is his favorite t-shirt for wearing for baseball games?
Thank you, Mr. Table Topics Master, fellow Toastmasters, and our guests. Good morning. I'm sorry there's a few extra steps to get myself ready to speak when called upon. For baseball games, I guess you could say it would probably just be like a Mets jersey or something like that. But I'm thinking about the larger question, just about my favorite t-shirt, and I really don't have one necessarily. Though it has occurred to me this morning, I'm wearing this for the first time. I just got it a couple of days ago at a kickoff meeting that we had, and it's a sort of different thing for me. It's a hoodie sort of thing, but it's a t-shirt hoodie. It's not a real hoodie with the heavy material, and I didn't think I liked that sort of thing, but putting it on this morning, I'm like, this isn't so bad. And wearing company swag is not really unusual. That's the raiment we usually have here at work just about every day. But we always tend to be partial to the ones that have our department on. It just gives us a little extra sense of pride, especially when people in the other departments go, hey, where'd you get that? It's kind of nice. Too bad you don't have one. I also think back to days when, as a younger guy, when I was long-haired individual and used to go to a lot of concerts, and I had all the concert t-shirts. Back in the days when concert t-shirts were actually reasonable, you could buy them. Now you need a platinum card at a concert to buy them. And I wish I would have hung on to some of them. Also, thinking about concert t-shirts makes me think of little anecdote. I remember one time driving my sister-in-law, who was younger. She couldn't drive. She didn't have a license yet. Her and her friends to a concert at Nassau Coliseum. And I don't remember who they were seeing. It was some hair band, Bon Jovi, whatever, something like that. Something I wasn't really into. And her friends were complaining about how they didn't have this year's concert shirt, and they didn't want to look like an idiot wearing the concert shirt from the last tour. And I was just so exasperated. I'm like, no, you don't understand how it works. You're supposed to have the old concert shirt to show you've been a fan for a long time. Mr. Table Topics Master.
Thank you, Mark. And I believe, let me just double check here on one thing, guys. I would like to ask Marshall to speak about his conference in 2024 with what t-shirts or shirts he will be using.
For 2024, my favorite t-shirt is navy t-shirt. But I'm only a teacher. For navy t-shirt, it's a striped t-shirt, white and blue. It's maybe from Soviet Union, from 1950. It was very popular, and it's transferred to China. For the young people in that age, they like to wear that kind of t-shirt. And for 2 years before, I learned how to wear clothes, and I bought a lot of kind of t-shirt. I thought that's my favorite one. That's when I wear it, I look a little muscular, and it's very easy to match your pants and shoes. For now, the Chinese Navy soldier, they also use that, but it's different with mine, because we can't buy the soldiers' clothes now. When I met some Navy soldier in an island, I talk about the history of the T-shirt. So for women's clothes, they change every year. For men's, the classic one is the best. Your clothes must have some history. Even after 100, 200 years, that T-shirt also fashion. Oh, thank you. When you wear it, you look like a romantic man. Thank you.
Thank you, Marshall. Okay. It looks like we got one more we're going to do, if that's okay with you, Jackie.
Absolutely.
Okay. I saw one person in the audience, Beth. I'd like her to talk about her favorite NFL shirt if she'd like to do that, because I think she's wearing one right now.
Thank you, Les. Good morning, everyone. This may not be my favorite shirt. I don't think I have one, but it's one of my favorites, mostly because my son bought it for me. He was sure that Doug Flutie was my absolute favorite Bill of all time. Then I got the shirt and I said, well, he's one of my favorites, but he may not be my favorite, but he did get it autographed by Doug Flutie. So that does make it a really cool shirt. I like Doug Flutie because he was short, like me. I like Don Beebe because he was short, like me, but very good players. So I decided I may be surprising some of you by not wearing a Celtic shirt, but I decided to wear a Bills shirt today. Will I be cheering for the Bills in the Super Bowl Sunday? No. But I will cheer for the 49ers because one of my former students is one of the lesser coaches for the 49ers. Thank you, everyone.
Alrighty, thank you, everybody. We'll pass it over to Jackie for doing the reports, and then we'll do the votes.
All right. Thank you, Les. Good job this morning. And thank you for filling in with some extra questions to eat up a little bit of our meeting time. We need a timers report. So Len has been doing the timing. Len, come up and give us a timers report, please.
Thank you, Jackie. First off, I have to introduce my shirt here. Not necessarily my favorite. On any given day, the favorite changes. I was torn between this one, which shows the evolution of man, and the last one, he's flying, and a Irish rugby shirt, because it's the 8 Nations rugby tournament going on right now, if anybody follows that sort of thing. But many of you know, if you saw my speech on jackets and coats, I have a raiment addiction in that I don't part with apparel very easily. And I've built up a lot of t-shirts over the years from running races, different events, and just catchy sayings and things. And so I took steps to remedy that situation a couple months ago. And I cut off the fronts of 60 of them, and I sent them to a company that made a blanket out of them, 30 on each side. It's called Project Repat, and all the proceeds go to veterans. So it's a great thing. And yes, I have enough to make another blanket. So on with my timers report. People had a little trouble today. Larry made up for lost time in that he took twice as much time on on his table topics. At 304, Steve qualified at 210, Margot qualified at 155, Mark qualified at 209. Marshall, you went a little bit long, 219, didn't qualify even with the buffer. And Beth, you needed to find another aspect to that story to continue on. You were a little short with 105. So time-wise, the three contestants who qualified are Steve, Margot, and Mark. Madam Toastmaster.
Excuse me, Mr. Timer.
And now we need to find out if everyone used the word of the day, so we know who we can vote for. Sylvia, please come up and give us a report.
Raiment, it was used by all table contents except Beth. So as of now, though, Jackie had used it a couple of times. Margot used it twice. Lynn used it. Larry used it. Mark used it. Marshall used it. And Stephen Smith used it.
Thank you, Sylvia. So please cast your vote. Someone will be around the room to pick up ballots. Steve, Marco, and Mark are the candidates who fulfilled all the requirements. So you can vote for one of them, and there will be a poll online as soon as possible. Okay, obviously you have to have a Bills shirt if you live in Western New York. I'm not a huge football fan. I like it when they win. I'm always happy. This is the shirt I bought my dog to wear. She looked great in it. I've been to a couple of Bills games. The first time was in the fall of 1965. My boyfriend at the time decided we needed to go to a game. Unfortunately, he wasn't old enough yet to drive after dark. So he had to buy a ticket for his big sister too, and the three of us went to the game together, which was fun. And, you know, it was kind of fun watching a game in person. And then I went to another one many years later. Kevin and friends had season tickets, and I got to go with them one time. It was very cold. My feet were frozen, and, you know, it's fun, but there are limits to my tolerance. However, I do have required Bills gear to wear. So our next event will be our regular speakers. And today we have two. The first one is Mike Florio. And I'm not sure if Tracy's ready, but Tracy is his evaluator. I hope she got information from him. Tracy.
I am prepared. Thank you, Madam Toastmaster. So Mike today is going to be speaking from the Effective Coaching Manual. He's at level 3, focusing on the positive. His time is 5 to 7 minutes. The purpose of his speech is how his thoughts and speech actually impact others. And how did Mike grow from this project? We'll see how his remnant carries him throughout the project. Madam Toastmaster, do you have the title of this speech?
I do, thank you.
All right, I'll pass it to you.
Okay, thank you, Tracy. Mike Florio is going to describe a time when he had to stay focused to meet his goals, and his project is one of the additional projects that you do along the way. School is in session. Mike Florio giving us School is in Session. Take it away, Mike.
If you're not willing to learn, no one can help you. If you're determined to learn, no one can stop you. That's what Zig Ziglar said. Madam Toastmaster, fellow Toastmasters, and our guests. Last speech, I talked about how to stick to your goals and make them a reality. And a major part of achieving your goals are staying focused with a positive attitude, step by step, moving forward until you achieve that goal. There are many factors that could make it easy for someone to just pack it in and give up. But that's when you need to adapt, right? Improvise, overcome these challenges, move forward if you really want to succeed. One such instance for me was my first big company job. I worked for a company called Domtar, and some of you from Lockport might be familiar. They owned a paper mill on Ohio Street, and it was a big Canadian company, and the benefits were incredible. They had this thing in 1987 called a 401k. You put your money in and you'll have money for retirement. They had healthcare coverage that you didn't have to pay for. There were no copays. Imagine that in this day and age. They also had an excellent education program benefits. And they wanted to match the Canadian program with the US program, and it was a very good program. It made me remember some remnant advice that I got from one of my teachers at NCCC. That teacher told me to go as far as you can, Mike. Don't stop. Don't stop at your associate's degree. So I didn't. I went from my associate's degree onto my bachelor's degree at Fredonia. And then when the opportunity came, it was advertised at Domtar that they would pay for your education as long as you got a B in the class. So I thought this was my only chance really to get ahead. It was a really good chance for me to get ahead. I signed up for the GMAT. I filled out all the forms, both at work and at Canisius. And wouldn't you know it, I got accepted to Canisius. It was probably one of the most exciting and fearful moments really of my life. I thought, wow, here we go on another adventure and how tough it's going to be. I started classes at Canisius, and 2 weeks in, work told me that, hey, Mike, we're sorry. You're not eligible for this benefit. You can't go. I was devastated. You know, without that benefit from Domtar, I couldn't afford Canisius, not even under 1987 standards. And now who knows what the cost is now. I'd have to go a year of fighting with HR to try and reinstate that benefit for me to go back to college. I'm not one to go to HR. I felt I had to go to HR and fight for what I thought was right. I've never gone to HR even since after that. So sometimes you have to do what you have to do. I never really received a valid reason from management why they canceled that benefit so abruptly. I'm sure it had something to do with the cost. They paid for everything, right? They paid for tuition, books, everything. But I was ready to go to bat and fight for it, and I got it back. And when I got it reinstated, I went back. It took 5 years after that of night school. I ate a lot of granola bars, a lot of cold pizza during those years, but I kept going back. I put in 12-hour days. I still had a 40-hour-a-week job, sometimes 50-hour-a-week job, and then I'd go to class at night, and then I'd have study groups on the weekend. Many people probably would have quit after that, I'm sure, and some of them did. Some of my counterparts that were going to MBA night school, they gave up. But I didn't. I knew what the goal was, and I drove as hard as I could to get to that point. My wife, she was great. She knew how much it meant to me and how much it meant to our family to try and finish this goal. So we worked as hard as we could. The very next year after I graduated with my MBA, they came up with a 1-year accelerated program. So instead of going 5 years of night school, you could do it in 1 year. I was a little disappointed with that. But anyway, I always thought that my best years were the ones ahead of me. I still feel that way now. I still keep driving forward to try and get to that next goal, climb that next mountain. Walt Disney said, I always like to look on the optimistic side of life, but I am realistic enough to know life is much more complex than that. Madam Toastmaster.
Thank you, Mike. Thank you, Mike. And our second speaker today will be Phil Russell, who is being evaluated by David Licata. David, are you prepared to tell us about his speech? No, you're not. Okay. No, I never let anyone off the hook. Who are you talking to here? Phil has a proposal that he's talked about before and gave us a little bit of information about. It's one of the level 5 speeches. So he's getting close to getting a second DTM, I would guess. You will be listening for all of his language and ideas and giving us more information about his speech at the end. David Licata.
Fine.
Okay. Patty Pouty will be giving us an evaluation at the end of the meeting. And now Phil is all queued up and ready to go with Feed the Prospects. Phil Russell, Feed the Prospects. Go, Phil.
Madam Toastmaster, fellow Toastmasters, our guest, don't start timing me yet, Mr. Timer. I want to say something about the remnants. Raiments. First off, I like to wear a raiment that is appropriate for the meeting. Lions is lions. And of course, Toastmasters, a Toastmaster shirt. Interesting, and that word, you take one hump out of that M and it becomes raiment. And that is a word, but an entirely different meaning. It's amazing. I know that our Madam Toastmaster and Margot will appreciate how one letter can change everything. That's great. Excuse me. I have a little frog in my throat that I might cough a little bit, but I'm going to try and avoid that. There'll be one moment of silence, and then you may start at my first utterance. Mr. Timer. Right here, right now. No, Dave, I'm not trying to steal something from Marv Levy, but it's appropriate. We're meeting at the YMCA, and we're Toastmasters. So right here, right now, we have a great opportunity. YMCA is the place where Toastmasters first met out in California. Remember that. Now, last speech was talking about a scholarship for new members or people that come in from the YMCA, either workers or members. Can't do that. Found out. It's a TI thing. It's not up to me. Can't do it. So we have to move forward. Got an idea. How about a monthly open house when we are meeting at the YMCA? That's been approved. The first Thursday meeting of every month done at the YMCA will be an open house to everyone. That's been approved. Correct me if I'm wrong, Kate Orr, but I believe we have no problem with doing that. How are we going to do it? Let's start here. How about a continental breakfast? Marty Johnston works at Tops. Dave Licata is a super foodie. He knows food. He likes food. And that's a good thing. Drink and food are Dave's thing. Great. Marty has said he can pick up at Tops something like maybe orange juice, some Danish, and we have coffee. He can make, if we need coffee, we'll get it right there. And if he can't bring it, Dave has said he would. What we do need is some other people that if Dave and Marty can't do it, to step in and say, hey, I can get to Tops, just order it. You two order it. I will pick it up and bring it. That is a great thing to do. Bring it there the first monthly meeting of each month. Our first one will be March 1st. March 1st. Put that in your head. Now, that is a good thing. Have it through Toastmasters, our Toastmasters. It's all, we could do that. Should be no objection. Number 2, I've notified the YMCA. They think it's a great idea. They have prospects you can't believe working for them. And if you look out in the parking lot, that's the most popular place in Lockport. Believe it or not. Next on the agenda, advertisement at the YMCA. Joanna Munson, program director, said, yes, we have a newsletter. Anything you could come up with, we will be glad to put it in there. But we need somebody to put it together and get it to Joanne Munson for their, whatever their monthly or semi-monthly, I don't know how often they put it in. But our VP of Public Relations, I believe that's Eric, correct me if I'm wrong. We need to get to Joanna, let her know what's going on, and she'll do it. I asked her also about any other kind of advertisement. Now, the one I came up with was to get a sandwich board, front and back with, some leather straps. We could put that on Dave Licata. He likes to talk about Toastmasters, and have him every morning walk up and down in front of the YMCA in his free time and tell everybody about the Toastmasters world. Are you willing, Dave? Okay, if you can't do it, it'd be a little silly, but come up with some other idea, and Joanna will be glad to do it. She's open to it. They have a plethora of young people working there at that want to progress. They want to work on building up their careers, and she's willing to give them that. And we have right here, right now, the opportunity, because that's what Toastmasters is about. Now, the YMCA has rewards. Mike Florio pointed this out to me. Joanna said, well, I have to run it past the board if somebody gets points for attending the Toastmasters. We need to sell her on the concept so that they can get points and get some of these great rewards, t-shirts, different kinds of things that they have, membership. It's a great idea. Points will help bring people to the YMCA. Mike, or excuse me, Lenny. Lenny needs help with this because he's going to be gone next week. Those young people can figure it out. We need to find one of them. They're right here now. We just make sure we find that person. And that's our job. The next job we have is make sure we have fun, not just try to accomplish goals that Sam Otto or Kate Olson has put up. This club was founded on fun and advancement. Fun is the priority. Let's get back to that priority. Let's have fun. It's a fun club. That's what we need. Toastmasters in Lockport was started 1982. 1982. I was there at the first meeting, the downstairs of Old City Hall. The YMCA has been around forever. Started in England, moved to USA. First time a Toastmasters meeting was right at a YMCA in California. Guess what? We're right here, right now. Madam Toastmaster.
Thank you, Phil. Both of our speakers were excellent this morning. And now I'd like a timers report so we can cast a ballot for whomever we think did the best job. Len.
Thank you, Jackie. I'm pleased to report that both of our speakers this morning qualified, Mike at 5:54 and Phil Russell with the buffer at 7:24. Please cast your ballot either in person here or online for either Mike or Phil. Thank you.
Thank you, Len. All right. Our next portion of the meeting will be listening to evaluations of the speeches we heard today. But before that, I want to talk about this shirt, which is near and dear to my heart. We created our logo quite a long time ago. Jen Zapla came up with it, and she used a quote because I gave a speech about telling my friends how it's worth getting up this early in the morning to come in here and humiliate yourself at the lectern and learn a few things. And that's a very true part of what I find in Toastmasters. I learn something new at every meeting. And I think that's pretty amazing because I am now the oldest active member of this club. Edna's still part of the club. She's older than me, but she hasn't been coming to meetings. So I am the senior AM Lockport Toastmaster. Still worth getting up for in spite of the rheumatic pain that haunts me as I climb out of bed early in the morning on Thursdays. But it's very much worth it. And it is always going to be near and dear to my heart. So let's hear from our wonderful evaluators this morning, telling us quite a bit about these speeches and what they thought. Both of our evaluators are excellent, even Pouty Pathy. So Tracy, would you tell us, please, what you thought of Mike's speech this morning? Tracy Farrell.
Thank you, Madam Toastmaster. So Mike talked to us about focusing on the positive. And it's really interesting because he told us about getting his MBA. And he started with a Zig Ziglar quote. How appropriate for that. And actually, I was immediately interested in this topic because, you know what, I went through the same experience of getting my MBA while I was older, while I was working full time. It's tough. It's grueling. So, Mike, I would have liked to hear you talk a little bit more about how it is not to have a social life, not to be there when your family needs you and they're missing you all the time, and then put in some vocal variety and gestures into the story. I thought you were very comfortable telling this story, and you did an excellent job. You were very clear in all of your sentences. And it's kind of amazing because you went at a good pace and you actually had good pauses in there. They weren't fake, or I'm trying to think of the next thing to say. They were good, appropriate pauses. And it's interesting because you told about how difficult it was to fight, do the right thing for for you and for your company and have them pay for it. So it's the perseverance and how you went through that whole experience and the positivity of it. I talked about how comfortable you were. I'm also going to say eye contact. You're very comfortable with all of these stories. This is your life experience, and you read your notes a little bit much. And it would have been nice if you had more eye contact. That just engages your audience a little bit more. So telling us small little snippets of these stories to go on. I really don't have a lot more. You did such a great job with all of these. It was a good topic. You shared the impact of it. One of the things, just to challenge you, because your professor told you don't give up, don't stop with your education, I'll challenge you, tell this story to more people and encourage them to get their MBAs. It's a fantastic endeavor. Congratulations to you, Mike. Madam Toastmaster.
Thank you, Tracy. And our final evaluator, not the senior in age, but the senior in longevity in the club, David Licata, will be evaluating Phil Russell. David.
Madam Toastmaster, fellow Toastmasters and guests, and especially Phil. Earlier in the jest, I reflected back that TV and I came up together, so I'd like to share this with my dear friend Phil. Howdy, har, har, Norton. What did he do? He opened with a lot of humor. And speaking of the why, and speaking of our founder, Ralph Smedley, and never forget this as you go out to recruit, never forget this. We learn in moments of pleasure. And Phil gave us a brief lesson in the first part of his speech about employing humor to get our attention. So I enjoyed that, and don't forget that, and that's a good way to open a speech. Humor never hurts, and it involves the audience and gets them on board your speech. Now, where could Phil improve? Well, Phil, I want to tell you that Beth Banks, who's down from the lake area, much like yourself, is working on a map so you can find your way here to the Y, because you mentioned it so often. And I think if you're going to give a big speech about coming to the Y, come to the Y. And another thing, I tend to vote for people that show up when the voting comes. So I'll share that conceit with you as well. Phil is an experienced speaker. Most importantly, he did a lot of coaching. And to reinforce what I said, he learned from a motivator. His high school coach, Les Dugan, is a big mentor in Phil's life. So Phil borrows freely from that. And what Phil did today, he was the perfect caddy. He told us what club to use. He got down on his knee. He put the tee in the ground and he put the ball there and he pointed to the flag. And that was his call to action. But we have to hit the ball. And I must admit, he won me over. I'm not going to do the sandwich board, but I will do it. I will do so much more else. So much more in my raiment. Thank you very much, Madam Toastmaster.
Hard choice today, two excellent evaluators. We need a timers report, however, to make sure they both qualified. So here we go with Len again.
Thank you, Jackie. Once again, I'm pleased to report that both of our contestants qualified. We had Tracy coming in at 2:33 and Dave Licata at 2:38. Please cast your ballots.
All right, everyone. Wait for that poll to come up and the people in the room can cast their ballot for either of our two speakers, Phil or Mike Florio. And we will move on to our meeting closures. I'm going to ask Marty to give us the general evaluation information, and then I'll call for reports and any announcements that need to be made. So Marty Johnston, would you please give us a general evaluation of the meeting and our evaluators today? Marty.
Thank you, Toastmaster Jackie, fellow Toastmasters, most welcome guests. Excellent meeting, Jackie. It all started with the preparation. I did get emails stating we needed another speaker. So you were prepared for that, and you prepared that for anyone that wanted to take advantage of that opportunity. No one did. However, in that same email, you said that table topics could be extended, and Les did a wonderful job. We had 6 table topics participants to fill the void of the third speaker. I like the theme, Jackie, and I like your prop. You had the shirt with the prop, the logos. You told us about the importance of learning something new at every meeting. I feel the same way. You are prepared with speech titles. I like that you took control of different situations that came up. And you told Dave, no, you weren't letting him off the hook to evaluate today. It's always important to take control when you're in the leadership role, such as Toastmaster of the Day. Well done, Jackie. Moving into our evaluation, the evaluators for the prepared speeches, both Tracy and Dave used the sandwich approach, which is different layers of a sandwich for our newer members, our audience people, different layers with, good points, constructive feedback, some things to work on, some meat in the middle, and motivating the speaker to come back to speak again. And both of you did that. And I hope that the speakers take that in consideration and use that next time they speak. I always find that very helpful, as that's the purpose of the evaluation, for the speaker to take heed and use those suggestions for improvement. That's all I have. I did make a note in my chat, and instead of Dave wearing that board, possibly, Dave, you might change your mind. We could change it into some type of format, raiment, if you will, to look like a toaster. Toaster. You put toast in. And you could have the different benefits of Toastmaster and the logo written on it, and a spot where it says, ask me about Toastmasters. Maybe Dave will change his mind. To you. Toastmaster.
David says he can have you pop up. Thank you, Marty. It's always helpful to hear those little remarks at the end of the meeting about the job that everyone did in things like evaluating. All right, we've had a look in my closet. We've seen my raiment. Now we need to hear from Joe Budnack, who also gets a chance to use the word of the day. Joe, come on up and let's have a little quiz about what you thought this morning and what you heard. Joe.
So what was the name of the song that Larry mentioned that was written by Toby Keith that he wrote after he met Clint Eastwood. That's right. What beautiful logo does Steve have on his remnant that he really liked, that other people stuck their nose up at? That's right, Buffalo. When Margot and Jim go on a cruise, what do they do to meet people and to become more gregarious?
Dress alike.
Dress alike. Very good. What kind of hoodie is Mark wearing today?
T-shirt.
T-shirt, hoodie. Very good. And what's Marshall's favorite T-shirt?
Navy.
Navy. Who autographed Beth's jersey?
Doug
Flutie. And who did Mike quote from at the end of his speech? Walt Disney. And what state did Phil say that Toastmasters first met at the YMCA? Sunny, California. And what's Dave's nickname this morning? Patty Pouty. Yes, Patty Pouty. That's right. Oh, well. Thank you, Madam Toastmaster.
Thank you, Joe. Our next report will come from Sylvia, who's going to tell us how we did in our grammar, our speech, our word choices, and also how the word of the day, Raymond, did. Sylvia.
I'll start with the word of the day. I think Jackie is the winner of this word. Jackie used it again twice. Marty used it once. David Licata used it once. Phil Russell used it 3 different times. Tracy once. I did hear a couple so's. And Marshall, you use as a connector. If you cut the little ahs out and start your sentences, you would improve tremendously. Marty used once. I did choose some of these words because I use them a lot and I'm trying to stop using them. Les' favorite word today was pick. Instead of called on or ask so-and-so a question. Steve, he said, got shirts made up. I would use had shirts made up. Margot, matchy. That was cute. They had us all laughing. And Phil, plethorous, I thought was a good word. Abundance. Yes.
Meeting of the Republican Committee the other night. The lady who wants to run for family court judge gave her stump speech for the first time. 5 minutes, she had 22 hours.
Oh, did you ask her to join?
I got her phone number. She's gonna get a text.
There you go. Good going. Thank you.
Thank you, Sylvia. All right. We don't want to forget our 2 guests this morning. Ovid is here in person. Ovid, come up and tell us what you thought about our meeting and what it felt like to actually be in the room with us. We enjoyed having you here, Ovid. Wow, it's great to see everybody in person instead of those little boxes, right? Yeah, it's fabulous. This is the 2nd time, maybe the 3rd time I've been at a meeting. And is Phil the Phil that's online, is that the only Phil that's a member? Okay, I have a story for him, but I don't know how much time we have. Go ahead. You can do a 5 to 7. Really? Great. Could I? That's all right. I'm in my 6th path, so I think I could handle the icebreaker. Let's see. In April 2021, that was when I came to my first meeting. And I was moving to Lockport. I was looking for a house and I said to the group, does anybody know a realtor that I could contact? And Phil, you probably don't remember this. He contacted me and he said, I've got a realtor for you. And he gave me the person's name and I contacted them and the rest is history. The house is on Locust Street. And yeah, I know it's my first time over here in person, but here I am. So, yes, I have a connection. I have that AM Lockport connection. So thanks for welcoming me. Always. Oh, I have one more thing I have to say.
Go right ahead.
I'm sorry. The district conference is April 27th in Rochester. And I know Downtown Toastmasters is putting a carpool together so that all of their members, or as many as can fit in their car, I guess, can go together. So I challenge AM Lockport to get a group together and come as a unit to the district conference.
Thank you, Abby.
That wouldn't be a problem. We're used to getting up early, so we can just get a little earlier start and hit the road. We'll do fine. And Chuck is back with us today. He came last week. It was the first time he'd been back for quite a while. So we need to get him started and rejoining. We're going to do that, and he will be doing his icebreaker before you know it, but he can come up and talk to us this morning, Chuck. All right.
Well, I'm glad I came. Each time it's just a lot of fun. I still have some work to do to get over my anxiety. Today, I was really concentrating on working on my evaluations, being able to take notes and so that I could come up with a sandwiched report for everyone. It's a little overwhelming, all of the jobs and all of the things that are going on in a Toastmaster meeting, knowing that you could be called on at any time without any preparation, which is something that I really need to do a lot more work on and get a lot more comfortable doing. But I just like to thank everyone for your support and for your help and the information you've given me. And I look forward to a fun meeting. And I'll try to work on some good raiment.
All right. I am always silently correcting your grammar, but I promise not to hold this up during anybody's speaking portion again. I really threw Eric off a few weeks ago and kind of made him startled when he was giving a table topics speech. So I'm trying to, I brought it to the conference or to the contest last week, but I put it away before the speeches started so I wouldn't throw anyone off. All right. Happy to be here. This is the anniversary of my first attendance at a Toastmasters meeting. 20 years ago this month, I joined Toastmasters, and I haven't missed many meetings in that 20-year span. It is definitely worth getting up for. Always a good time. So we have winners. I'm going to go ahead and announce them, even though I'm not the officer of the day. Our table topics winner is Margot Bittner. We have a ribbon for you if you ever come in person again.
Or you can send it with David.
Our best evaluator. Our best evaluator is David Licata. David Licata. And our best speaker this morning is Mike Florio. Congratulations, Mike. Do we have any announcements? I think Eric might have mentioned having announcements. Anybody?
I have some announcements, Jackie, if you want me to go ahead and do
You go
it.
right ahead and take over at this point, Eric.
Thank you very much, Jackie. Somehow I don't have a favorite t-shirt on. I'm wearing my uniform, so that counts. as Jackie mentioned, Saturday was the Area 11 and 13 contest at the Audubon Library. And we would like to thank, or not thank, we like to congratulate our members. In the evaluation contest, first place was Steve Smith. So let's give a round of applause for Steve. And second place was Sylvia in the evaluation contest. And in international, our first place winner was Dr. Gerald Stevens. So we like to congratulate Dr. Stevens on coming in first place. And the contest will be on March 16th, Saturday, March 16th at the Audubon Library. And if there are roles available, please let me or Kate know. Are there any other announcements from the floor?
Yes, Eric?
Yes, go ahead.
I will invite Avis up to pull the 50-50 winner. Also, I will be sending out, hopefully in the next week, the invoices for the next period, which is coming up. Larry McKenzie, I did get you put in a little glitch there. They wanted to have the 60 that you pay for this session, which then would be over, which means you'd have to pay another 60 starting the next term. So I put you in as a reinstating member. So then you owe us 20 for this part of the term, and then the 60 will pay you through September. So that was actually cheaper than making you pay for both. So that's what I did. So you owe us $20, but you're paid through September. So thank you, Elvis. That's okay. We've done it before. And she picked herself. So she's the 50-50 winner. Very good. I believe you. I believe you. 439. There we go. Okay. Thank you, everyone. Have a great day.
Also, our Toastmaster for next week is Kate, and her theme is National Donor Day. Give the gift of life. And our speakers, who is our speakers? Dave Licata, Jill Roaring, and Jackie Kenny, and Marty is the alternate speaker. So with that, I bid everybody a happy Thursday and watch the Super Bowl.
Where's the